So before I get into the testing on this, I'm just going to say that this is a very heavily modified machine. It just wasn't in a very... how do I put this? It's not that it was in, like, horrible shape, but there were just so many flaws in this thing that I felt I had to do something to correct some of it. So before the testing, let's get into a little bit about this. This is a Numatic, which most people know, for producing Henry vacuums. This one is one of the older ones with the old 8 amp motor in it instead of the 620 watts. And I am not sure what this number is for. I'm assuming this belonged to some sort of cleaning company or something before I had gotten my hands on it. And we have a big crack right here. I've attempted to epoxy it, but the pressure from the machine just broke that right back open, so that's the best I could come up with. So, one of the problems I ran into was this would leak, especially around the back here, around the bag door. So it's like I put some gasket material into this, and it's really helped it. And then we have one of my modifications. I don't have a sewing machine, so I actually stitched this together by hand, because the old bag was made of this material. It's very smooth feeling, and it does not breathe well. In fact, this will actually hold water very well, so it's very, very restrictive, and I just didn't want to deal with that. Real ugly, but it's holding so far. And then we have another problem here. I know, kind of a pretty chintzy way to do this, but one of the problems I had was when this machine was turned on, the cloth bag would seal over the top of this motor here, and it would really, really kill its airflow. In fact, if I have a clip of that, so maybe I'll play it over this part. Yep, even with this cloth in place versus this other material, it was still sealing down to it and kind of killing off its airflow. So I have put these pieces of cardboard in here to prevent it from sealing onto it. Like I said, a really chintzy way to do it, but it's effective. So then I'm gonna have to put this gasket back in, so I'm gonna put this down for a moment. And then the last modification I made to this was around this hose cuff, because there was so much play in this that it was losing a lot of suction right around it. I've not been too pleased with this unit as is, but I'm not going to hold the new ones to the same standard I've held this, because I have a feeling they've probably fixed some of these issues by now, and we can really blame some of this on wear. Like, I'm sure this being kind of worn down around here probably has something to do with the hose not sealing up very well. So some of it's probably wear, but I think I've gotten the most power out of this thing I possibly can. But now that we've kind of covered some of the issues and the redneck engineering I've done on this, why don't we get to the testing so we can see how this performs. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this actually has a power nozzle port in it, which is kind of nice. You don't see too many backpacks that are equipped with that. But That's why it cracked right there. Motor still doesn't sound the best, but I don't think it's serviceable. I replaced the carbon brushes on it because they were quite worn. Especially this one. And I'm guessing part of the reason for that was the this cloth filter. With it being so restrictive, the motor would have had to have run at a high RPM. And then, unfortunately, another issue with this is the cuff is cracked on here. But, you know, I can't complain too much. I actually got a really good deal on this. Although, getting the proper parts for this thing would be quite expensive, so I don't think I'm actually going to go too far into it. Because, like, for example, a new Tritex cloth bag for one of these is like 80 bucks. And it's like, I think I paid around 40. It's like I'm not going to spend twice the amount on a part for a machine. But it's interesting to get my hands on one. So we're just gonna tape this onto the end of the plastic stub here. Yeah, it's definitely doing a lot better than it had when I initially got it. Because I remember it getting around 60 something at the end of the hose. And then, actually it might have been a little bit lower. Why don't I see if I can find those? And if I can, I'll just post them here for comparison. But I know I know both the airflow and the water lift are definitely higher after all this crap I've done to it. But yeah, it's definitely not pretty, and definitely not pretty, but it's working, and it's not horrible. But like I said, I definitely wouldn't judge the new ones just based upon this, because this is much older, clearly been somewhat abused, and of course lots of heavy modifications made to it just, you know, to get it up and running to an acceptable level. You know, things like removing this, which I know the Tritex ones are very different from them. So yeah,